Hi, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create a bot to automate YouTube translations of titles and descriptions. To be precise, I'm going to teach you how to use Axiom.ai, a no-code browser automation tool. Now I'm going to show you step by step how to build a bot that takes text from a Google Sheet, translates it in Google Translator, extracts the translation, uploads it to YouTube, and repeats that process, translating as many different languages and YouTube videos as you want. I'm Alex, co-founder of Axiom. Let's dive in. This is how the flow of this video is going to go. First up, I'm just going to talk you through very briefly how the bot works. Then I'm going to show you the magic. I'm going to show you the bot running so you can see for yourself the power of Axiom. And then lastly, if you're interested in building this bot yourself, I'm going to teach you how to do it step by step. By the end of the video, you'll have pretty amazing browser automation skills and be able to build bots yourself. Let's get started. So on screen, you can see here I've got a Google Sheet. That's because the bot is going to loop through data, loop through each row in a Google Sheet. So in column A of the sheet, I've got the unique video ID that we want to translate of the YouTube ID, essentially. Column B, the title we want to translate. Column C, the description. And then column D, finally, the language. And the language is exactly how it's stated in Google Translate, because we're going to use that data to click on the button in Google Translate. More on that in a second. Okay, so once you've got your sheet set up, we will then take that data, the bot will run through that data and it will go to the Google Translate page as a human would, and it will enter the text to be translated. The bot will then select the language we want to translate it to. That's why we've got a column in the Google Sheet with the languages in. And then once Google Translate has done its thing, made its magic and given us a translation, we're going to use Axiom's web scraper to extract that data. And then Axiom will open up YouTube as you would, but it will save you the time and the pain and really the boring repetition of clicking add language, because it's pretty dull. And the bot will click on add language, it will select the language just as I'm doing here on screen, and then it will click add and it will enter the title, then it will enter the description before finally it clicks publish, and that's your translation automated. Okay, let's show you the magic. Let's show you the bot doing this. Ready? Let's watch the bot in action. Let's see the magic. If you haven't noticed already, I have Axiom open up on the right-hand screen. This is the bot I made using absolutely no code. It took a few minutes. I had to work a couple of things out. I still may have a few things we may work out on screen as I record this tutorial and as I share with you how I built this bot shortly after we've seen it run. Now I'm just going to scroll down the bot. No code required, as I said. It's just built with steps that just replicate your human actions. Now, on this final step, the bot clicks the publish button. I've got that disabled just because for the purpose of this video, I don't want to publish. And when I'm testing my bots, I don't want content to be actually altered until I feel confident the bot is ready and I'm running it live. Okay, so no more talking. Let's run the bot. It's going to open up on the desktop app. We also you can run bots in the cloud or on a VPS server. Now, the desktop opens. Its desktop app is open, and this is Axiom doing its magic. Look, it's already taken the text from the Google Sheet. It's blazingly fast. I can't keep up with this, and I'm not touching the keyboard. This will take a bit longer to enter because it's a long description. There you can see Axiom's basically inputting the text just like a human being would. And then we're going to scrape it like straight off the page and then into Axiom's memory, where it will then open up to the Google Sheets. But in a moment, you're going to see a display message pop up, just like this one. And I use these display messages to test my bots. It's basically a step. I'll show you more about that later. Now the bot's going to carry on. In a blink of an eye, it's going to open up YouTube. Hands up here, not touching the keyboard. I mean, I just love watching these automations. I love making them. It's going to enter the title. Then it's going to enter the description. It's not going to click publish because I've got this disabled for the video. But that is the magic. That is the bot running. It's pretty damn cool. I mean, I never get bored of watching these bots or making them or finding new things to automate with the browser. So that's the magic. You've seen it. Now, keep watching if you want to learn how to build those bots yourself. And remind yourself that, as I mentioned at the start of the video, you can build bots to automate anything. The lessons you learn from this video, you'll be able to apply to other websites. You could use it to translate content for a website. You could use it to translate content for other social media sites. It's a pretty awesome skill to learn browser automation. I love it. Let's continue and let's teach you how to make this bot yourself. Before we start showing you how to build the automation step by step, let's just get you set up. First of all, you're going to need a Google Sheet. Match the structure of mine. It's just simple to follow. Column A, your YouTube unique IDs. They're easy to find. They're usually in the string of the URL, or when you click share, you can extract it from there. Column B, the title. Column C, the description. My description was a little long because I've also got the timeline of the video keys in there, and I had to adjust the height of the columns, otherwise it just got big and ridiculous. Okay, lastly, column D, put the language in there. Okay, now open up another tab, get Google Translate open. That's because as we build the bot, we select the different elements and inform the bot what it needs to click on. For example, I'll show you how to enter text, how you select the enter text field to pass the text from the Google Sheet. More about that in a second. And you have to click buttons, etc. Also open the tab of a video where we're going to, on the actual translation page, you can see the string here. It's literally video / the unique ID / translations. And this is a video that we would want to add the title and descriptions to. You'll see the add language button because we're going to also need to select that with Axiom so it knows where to click. So we've literally got these pages open so we can replicate our actions. Okay, now let's show you how to build it step by step. I'm just going to open up Axiom and walk you through what I did. Now let me teach you how to automate the browser, how to use Axiom, the no-code browser automation tool. Let me show you step by step how I made this bot. As you can see, Axiom is open. It's overlaying Google Sheet here. And the first thing I needed to do with this bot is to import this data from the Google Sheet. I did this by adding a read data from Google Sheet step. It's really easy to add steps. You just click on the plus sign. And the first thing I needed to do was insert the URL or find the Google Sheet. Axiom makes it easy to do. It's connected to your Google Sheets. You can set that up. It prompts you to do it and it will find what you've got and basically suggest which one to pick. Or you can just copy and paste the URL of the Google Sheet straight in there. It will then get the sheet names available and allow you to select them. Next, first cell and last cell. Please pay attention to this. It's an important part of the automation. So with Axiom, we're going to loop the bot through each row, but we only want to do one row at a time in the loop. And so what we need to do is with the first cell, we specify the cell we want to start reading data from, and that is in column A, row 1, and specify the last cell, which is going to be column D, row 1. So we've done that, and this means Axiom's only going to read one row at a time. And you can see in the preview, we've only got a single row. Perfect, that's the first bit set up. Next, I added an interact with, I'm just going to type interact into it, with the page interface. This is a very important step if you're not familiar with Axiom. This is a step that lets you do all the cool stuff in the browser that automates the clicks, the enter text, the select lists, even record your key presses to allow you to automate virtually anything in any app. And this is what the step that we've used to automate the interactions with Google Sheets and with YouTube. This first interact step I've added, however, This is used to automate the interaction with Google Translate. And so once you've added the step, the next thing you need to, or the first thing you need to do is tell it what page to go to. And I do that simply by inserting the URL of Google Translate. Now, another cool thing about Axiom and why it's a Chrome extension is because it allows you just to tab between applications, between tabs, and Axiom is open up here on the right. You can, of course, collapse it and open it at any stage. And this allows me to interact with all the different apps that I need to do, which I need to do when I'm actually building the automation. So I'm going to open the go-to step, and I could just grab the URL by clicking get current. Now, I don't necessarily need that long string in there, but I can leave it in there. It's absolutely fine. I'm just going to strip it out actually and just do that back to how it was. And what we do next is then add a series of sub-steps. You can see they're called add a sub-step, and you'll see this button here, add a sub-step. We call them sub-steps because they're only available in the interact step. That's going to change, but not for a while, and nothing to worry about now. And these sub-steps do all the cool automation stuff. They're the clicks, they're the enter text I talked about a little while ago. And so I added my first sub-step, and this was the enter text sub-step. Now, once you've added this step, let me just collapse Axiom here because I just want to remove that. Once I've added the enter text step, what I need to do is select the field that I want to enter text to. And now remembering that this use case is to translate text from a Google sheet into a different language into YouTube, what I'm going to want to do is select the first enter text field here and press complete. Now you can see I've already connected the data, but if I click insert data, I can just connect it again, and I can choose the column of the data I want to pass. Now this first enter text step is for the title, so I'm going to select column B. And that's it. That's all you have to do to pass the data from the Google Sheet into the interact step so Axiom can do the automation. That's pretty cool. It's pretty easy. You're passing data between steps. You're automating the browser all without code. I think that's pretty special. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that enter text step next. What we need to do is then think about the next part of the automation. And so literally replicate the action as you do it. So I'll just type some text in here, some gobbledygook. Then what would I do next? I would select the language. So that's what I need to do next. So how do I do that? How do I do that as a human in the browser? Well, I click on this, but it's not quite a drop list. The cursor appears in an input. So how do I replicate that? Well, all I need to do is add a click step and then another enter text step. And then probably to press enter, I could click on the magnifying glass, or can I just press return? Well, I can't there because it's not an actual real language. Let me type in the language, and then I could actually press return, and it selects Arabic. So I need to add a few steps here to automate this. I need to do a click to open up the selector or the widget for choosing language. Then I need to enter the text. Then I need to click return. So that's 3 steps I have to add here. Thankfully, I've done that already. I've done the thinking already, and you can see here's what I did. I added a click element. Pretty easy to do. Add a subset click element, and what I did was select the language here. So that's where Axiom will click, replicating what we've just talked through. Then what you'll notice is the cursor is already in the translate field. So we can just go ahead and put the text in straight away. So using an enter text step, I just passed the text we want to translate. And that is the title here. That's pretty damn cool, really easy to do. And actually that's completely wrong also. I've lost my train of thought. Actually what we need to do is pass the language in. How silly. Anyway, so that's the language now going in there. So we click on the language button, it opens it in the input, we enter the text, and all we need to do is add a press key step and we record. See, it's easy as just pressing return on your keyboard. I just need the single return, so I'm going to reset, press return. It's easy as that. I've recorded my keyboard action, that's pretty nifty. And that's the language being input, and it will translate the text. Now, once that text has been, let me just collapse Axiom again and think this through. Once that text has appeared here in the translated box, what do I do? How do I get it off there? Well, we've got a step for that too. We've got a get data from web page step. It's basically a web scraper. It can be used to scrape any content off a web page. All you need to do is add that step, press select, and then choose the content you want to scrape. It's simple as that. Now, I've limited the results to 1 because this speeds up the scraper. By default, it's also set to 1, I should say, and it makes the process quicker. So that's the data now. That's pretty much that first interact step complete. It goes to the Google Translate page, enters the text you want to translate, selects the language, scrapes the translation off, and that's it. Well, not quite, because we only did the title. Now we want to do the description as well. But I'm wondering, do we actually need to loop through again and do the whole process, or can we shorten it a bit? And I did manage to shorten it, because as you can see here on the screen on Google Translate, you can see there's this little X, and that clears the selection or the text being translated, but it doesn't clear the language you've chosen. So if I click on that, I can see the language has remained set on the correct language. The cursor is now in the enter text. So that means I don't actually have to do anything but click on that X, then just have an enter text step, put in the description, and the text should translate. So I did exactly that. I added another click element. Let me just bring it back up again. I selected the X, pressed complete. That removes the previous title that was translated. Then I added another enter text step, again inputting the data from the sheet. And I didn't have to set the selector tool on this because the cursor is already in the right place. So that's a really important thing to remember when automating the browser, is observe what happens on the page, because it can help you build a better and a more efficient bot. So for example, if you click on something and the cursor's in the right place, then you don't need to use a selector, just as I've talked about. Okay. Then all I need to do is once again scrape that data. So I've added another get data step, and that's it. That is literally all of the process I needed, all the steps I needed to automate the Google Translate section of this bot. Now, earlier in the video, if you recall, I did a display message. This is a really good tool for debugging and for using as you build your bots. Basically, it pops the data up on the page so you can see where your bot's at, what's happening, and you can see if anything's not working how you intended. Now, all I do to get that translated data into the display message is I saved all the passed all the interact data, because that passes the two get data the two get data steps in here. That's all wrapped up neatly into the one step, so it passes what it's been scraped straight into the display message. Now, once your bot's ready to go live, what you can do is, if you're happy with it, just delete that step or just disable it. I'm just going to choose to disable it now. Now we're on to the final interact step of the automation. This is the step that does the YouTube part of the automation. So I'm going to tab into YouTube, open up Axiom, and go to scroll down to the last interact. So much as I talked about already, when you add an interact step, it has a go-to page. Now, here is an interesting one. I'm going to quickly focus on this for a minute. So just as before, I've got to put a URL in here to tell the bot where to go. And what I need to do is put the URL of the actual video I want to go and translate. And this is where we use the video ID. And what I do is, you can see up here, you can see YouTube basically constructs its string for its URL and passes the video ID in. So all I need to do is change that video ID to go to the different pages. And that for when I want to loop the bot. So I literally took that URL, cut and pasted it, or get current URL, into this field. I then deleted the unique code. So now you can see the spaces just collapsed where the unique ID was of the video. And now, you've guessed it, I'm going to pass the unique ID in from the Google Sheet using insert data. And the neat trick I've done here is construct my own URL that will change dynamically each time the unique ID changes. So if I want to do 100 YouTube videos, but they've got different IDs, I just change the ID here and it will go to the correct page. That is a really neat trick, something you'll use if you continue automating the browser and you make many bots. That's a trick you're going to use again and again. It's really useful for constructing URLs, looping through different pages. It's just a neat trick. Okay, now I'm just going to tab back to the video page, YouTube page, talk you through the rest of this bot. So we need to automate the interactions on this page as well. So when you get to this page and you're on this stage of building the bot, I'd say, again, take time to pause, think how you want the bot to work, interact with the page, replicate your own actions. So the first action of a human would be to click on Add Language. Then you can see a list pops up. Now I was like, how do I automate this? I thought I could use the drop down, but I thought, hang on a minute, can I just type what the language I want, like I did on Google Translate, because that would be the quickest way. And let's choose the language of Bodo, which quite naively, I don't know where that language is from. I'm going to actually Google that in a minute because I'm intrigued. Actually, let's do that now. Just digress a moment, but I really don't know where Bodo language. Boro, also called Bodo, is Sino-Tibetan language. Okay, now I know. And so I realized, going back to the automation, that, yeah, you can type in the language. So I can again use enter text, but I probably won't use the select. And then what do? Yes, key press, and the language is set. And you can see YouTube works by adding another element below the original translation. It adds an add button. I'm going to need to click on that next. But first of all, let's just open up Axiom again and show you the steps I did add. So of course, I clicked on the add language button. Again, it's pretty simple. Select, add language, press complete. Then I added an enter text step. I didn't do anything to select the field. I just passed the language using insert data from column D. I just passed the language into here and then used the key press trick again. I clicked record until I got to this point where I've got the add, and then I literally added a click element to select the add. Now I think I had, yeah, you just need to select the right element. Let's just test it, make sure it opens up the pop-up. You can see the pop-up come. And now the thing here, another top tip to remember about browser automation is we have a step for waits. The waits just basically pause the, I'm just going to take a quick sip, pause myself. A wait basically pauses the bot for a set amount of time. Sometimes we do this because something isn't working as we expected or some data is misfired, click the wrong button. This can happen if a page element takes a while to load, like a pop-up, for example. So I'm just being cautious here and I'm adding a second for the wait. You can optimize it and test it. You might get away with 400ths of a second, for example. And once that's done, all I need to do is think about what's next. So I've just got to enter text into a field, into two different fields. Now, I already know how to pass data from a Google Sheet, and I know how to do this. It's just going to require 2 enter text steps. So go ahead, add those. Another thing I observed here is, look, this publish button is disabled when there's no text in the fields. That's good UI, but it means we need to think a little bit. So once I've added my enter title and I've inserted the data, you've seen me do that already. I won't take up your time and show you again. Enter description by adding another enter text step. And I've got my disabled button here to click on the publish. Now, if I selected it while the publish button's disabled, there's a chances are Axiom selectors will be wrong because it's choosing the button in a disabled state. So what I need to do is actually just flick Axiom back there, enter some dummy data so the button becomes in an active state, open up Axiom again, and then select the button, publish, press complete. And so, in theory, that's the bot set up. That's all you need to do. And that may seem like a lot of steps to you now if you're a complete beginner. If you're an experienced Axiom Pro and a power user, you're going to know this will just take you a few minutes to set up. No code used whatsoever. And your bot's pretty much good to go. So let's just run it once more and see what happens. I'm actually going to, let's just publish the language. Here we go. I'm going to see if we click on the publish because we didn't do before. Let's just run it in the desktop app again. You can choose the language. I mean, it's just interesting enough, I would have never, 10 years ago, I'd have never used Google Translate because it was suspect sometimes, the translation. It's not that I'm an expert in many languages. But now I think as a cost-effective solution, actually it's quite viable. So here we can see I've got my DSM. Now I'm just going to open up the bot again, and here we should see inputting the language. See, click add. And one thing to remember here is don't go over your character limit. You can see down in the corner here, 5,000. I'm nowhere near it. Now, let's hope the bot will manage to click on the publish. Now, it wouldn't have because being a dodo, I completely forgot to disable that button. So let's enable it now. I completely did remember to disable it. I forgot to enable it to correct myself for there. And it got me thinking about another thing quickly. You saw how quickly that page shut after the bot was finished. Now, what we actually need to do is add a little wait to make sure when we click save, the save request has time to get back to the YouTube server, be acknowledged, the state change, and etc. etc. The translation be saved. So I'm going to add another wait here. It's also quite useful. I find when automating Instagram posts, for example, I need a wait at the end to make sure the post is saved, and on various things like Pinterest, etc. So I'm going to add a 3-second wait here to make sure it's done. You can probably, again, optimize that by testing. Now, click run. Let's hopefully I've got it right this time. I have enabled the publish button. And this is a bot I'm going to actually, because obviously I make the videos for Axiom, I'm actually going to use this translate bot. It's pretty damn cool. So you'll be seeing me running this a lot, or you won't necessarily be seeing me doing it, but I'm going to be running this a lot for all of our videos. And hopefully that'll get us a few more views, as well as saving me a lot of time from doing this manually. Okay, so we're almost done. The bot is whizzing to the bottom. Got our DSM open. And just get the bot. Now for the fun part. Well, it's all fun. This is the YouTube bit. And we're going to add a language. Pretty cool. And I'm not cheating. I'm not doing this. Remember also, remember the character limit, because that would break the bot essentially, because it probably wouldn't let you publish. Now there, click to publish, and oh man, you cannot get bored of that. There's the Dutch language done. That is awesome. Like I say, bots are awesome. I smile every time I see them. Now, before I forget, the final part of this automation is, we didn't see it loop. I've got multiple rows here. We've just created the Dutch version, but let's show you how to set up the bot to loop through the rest of the rows in here and be able to control that loop, because then when I mention power of Axiom, you kind of start to realize why browser automation is just powerful, why Axiom is a powerful no-code tool. Now what we need to do is loop this bot. We're not going to use the loops here. You can leave them on, you can turn them off, but we're actually only passing one row of data, so no loop will occur here. And I'm going to scroll to the end of the bot here and add a step, not sub-step, a step. And what I'm going to do here is, first of all, let's think about what we're doing for a second. I'm just going to explain my thinking so that you understand when you go to build a bot. This bot basically loops through row by row, as I mentioned earlier when I talked about setting up the read data from Google Sheet. It does it one row at a time. Now, in order to make that loop work, we need to remove the row from the Google Sheet, because once it's looped through, it's done. So we remove a row and then read from a new row. So those are two actions. So what we do is add a delete rows from Google Sheet step, and we find our Google Sheet, we find the sheet name, and so that, simple as that, that will, once the bot has gone through here, and it won't do it before it's completed. If the bot stops anywhere here, it won't delete, so you'll know it's not succeeded. But if the bot gets through to the delete row, what I mean is basically won't delete the row before it's done the translation. Okay, that's a simpler way of putting it. Now make sure you've got the right sheet selected that you're deleting the rows from. That's sheet 1 in this case. Next, we need to do that loop. Now, I can't search for loop, or I can, and I get this jump step. And basically, I don't want a conditional jump because there's no logic required. I just want to jump, because basically by jumping I can make a loop. So the loop is basically happens if I go from the end to the start of the bot, and it keeps going. So I just add a jump step, and I choose step 1 to jump back to, because step 1 is read a row, because we've just deleted the row. So then if we go and read another row, it's a new row. So we've got our loop, and I can set the amount of times I want to loop here, for example. Now, if I want to keep track of, and that's my loop setup. Now, before I show you that loop in action, I actually only need one extra loop, because it'll do one when it starts and another one as a loop. Of course, you can, if you've got more rows, you can set more. Now, one final step I could also add, just to be flash or be more useful, I could add another write step. Now, why do this and why after the delete row? Because I'm just going to add a new sheet to the Google Sheet, Sheet 2. And we're just going to add a tracker sheet so you can keep track of what was written. So basically we're going to write the data from Sheet 1, which is the sheet that we're reading from, to another sheet, Sheet 2, which will be our tracker sheet. So again, I just look up YouTube translations, this time sheet name 2, and I'm just going to pass the data from the Google Sheet. So it'll just write this column, and that means we know, it'll just be basically we know that was done, this hasn't been done. Now, it's important to toggle onto this or it'll keep deleting and it won't keep adding, so we just add to existing data. And that's it. That is the bot complete, and it will now loop. And let's just, I mean, like I say, magic is magic, so let's just watch it actually loop. And then I'll end the video on that. Okay, so here's the next translation going in. It's pretty cool because with this video, I've managed to record a video teaching others the amazing skill of browser automation and how to use Axiom. At the same time, I managed to automate some of my other work. So in a strange way, I've now managed to automate 2 of my jobs at once. That is, one, making the video tutorial that will also be accompanied by a blog article. And at the same time, I've automated some translations for existing YouTube videos that we've got. I mean, that's like double bonus, isn't it? That's pretty damn cool. There we go. Let's see it. Click add language. Going to add Danish. I do like the Danish language. I like the Danish noir TV programs, by the way. And hopefully I'm not rattling on too much. But me and my wife the other day, we decided to help avoid any arguments that would only argue in Danish. So we're now both trying to learn Danish so we can argue with each other. Cool. So that is the Danish language added. Now, shortly the bot should loop through, and here comes the loop. Now let me just, in the background, go to the Google Sheet. You can see that in Sheet 2 we've written the row, and we've also deleted the row. So everything is working as planned. Back to the bot. Here's the next language coming in, German, I believe, which I wouldn't choose German to argue with my wife in because she's fluent in it and I'm sketchy at best. Oh, this is still cool to watch. You can see the DSM in the background. I want to watch the bot. Okay, so we're going to go to YouTube. We're going to add the language. Here we go. And, well, you can stop watching now and start building your own bot if you want. But that's pretty much it. That's the bot looping. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed making this. Cool. Thank you. And if you want to try Axiom, it's Axiom.ai. Go to the website, install the extension. Everyone gets 2 hours of free runtime. That gives you enough time to build a bot like this, test it, see if you get any value from the tool. If you do, then please do subscribe to Axiom, and also do subscribe to our YouTube video channel. Thank you.